Varun left the fashion industry to start Mama and Peaches, first as a subscription box for new parents, then as a full kidswear brand built on design, community, and doing less but better. From 15 lakhs in savings to a horse car studio and a community of parents who actually show up. This is the real story. So, Varun, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So,
Glad to be
let's jump right in.
here.
Yeah. So, you're welcome. You first had a career in fashion, right?
Yep.
You knew the industry well, and then you became a parent, and you looked at what was available in the country, the kids wear brand, so many names out there. So
Mhm.
what bothered you enough to, just quit and build from scratch?
So, like you mentioned, the trigger was, of course, becoming a parent. I actually come from Ludhiana, so I've always been in and around fabrics, fashion, garment
Mm.
manufacturing. My family lineage background is also from that. So that's where the idea of I mean, the idea didn't generate from that, but that was my pedigree. And when we became a parent, we felt that there was a gap in the market. We felt that there was this new wave of parents going to come in, like us. We now have a 9.5-year-old daughter. So 9 years back, there was a new wave of parenting coming in, which we felt firsthand being parents, where the fathers started getting very involved in every decision, where parents wanted to adapt to new technologies, new products, wanted to explore. I think it's also the time where India itself started booming into D2C and started, realizing that there is a gap in the market for almost every category. And that's where we felt that we could, now that we are parents, we understand firsthand the problems that, let's say, a mother goes through, or as a family you go through. We also looked at gifting as a space was very underserved at that point of time, and that's what led us to build in this space. Of course, what we do and how we do it was the second research part, but initially when this was the trigger which made us venture into this category.
Correct, correct. So was it the design that was available or the fabric that is catered to the kid that made you
So when
key, this will not work?
so when we started, we were not a garment focused brand. We were actually
Okay.
curating different products, and our
Mhm.
key USP was around gifting and around an experience. So the
Mm.
problem statement in
Right.
front of us was that what does a mother really go through during her pregnancy for up to the next 6 months of delivering a baby, because this is a very tough
Um,
phase for the mother. And me being the male, had no idea before becoming a parent that there are these things where pregnancy is actually tough. There is a postpartum depression. Mothers find it very difficult uh, to come back into their own. Like, there is not only physical changes but mental changes and hormonal changes. So we felt that nobody in India was really actually talking to the mother. Everybody was talking to the baby. Everybody went to everybody's house and said, "We've got this for the baby," and somehow the mother was always neglected, right? So that was actually the key insight into building a brand which focused on the mother. That is why our name Mama and Peaches came about, because we obviously wanted to build in the baby space, but the idea to name it like that was that we are always focused on the mother and what she's going through. So then we came up with this subscription model where you had a care package, and you, as, let's say, Khushbu wants to gift her friend, could send her a subscription of 6 months, and every month a new care package with a curated sort of different products would arrive at her door with a handwritten note and make, literally pamper the mother. And we thought it was a brilliant idea, and it was, it's not that it didn't work. We immediately hit the ground running. We had orders from the very first day when we launched. In those days there were no personal brands, or there was no building my journey and showing it. Literally, we put our Instagram out there and we started posting, and people started adopting. So we felt there is obviously this space, and a lot of feedback from customers, a lot of emotional feedback that literally played on this point that, finally something for me, because everybody comes home and they're just focused on the baby or other things, but nobody's really talking to me. So we felt that we're on the right track, and we were, and that's how we started building the space. We weren't manufacturing anything at that point of time. We were only connecting with the brands and trying to curate a package and make a business out of it.
Right. Right. So as you were talking about subscription boxes, that's a very like famous model I believe it is. So most
Yeah,
founders would have pushed it harder.
yeah.
Then why did you think कि नहीं, we need to stop this? We'll get
Oh, we
into some
pushed hard.
other.
We pushed very
Mm-hmm.
hard. In fact, I mean, we did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I look back, I don't think we didn't do anything. We did enough. We even went to hospitals and tried to do it offline as well. And we went hard on Meta and Instagram. And this category is very word of mouth reliant. And we are serving an audience in India. So subscription as a model has not picked up in India for everybody. It was not just for us, whether it was beauty subscriptions, whether it was clothing subscriptions. People at that point of time had come up with office wear subscriptions, workout subscription. Yeah, somebody had come out with even like stuff like subscription for men who are into drinking alcohol, and they would send you barware and they would send you different books and games. But it didn't
Right.
fly because subscription as a model is very complicated model for the Indian consumer mindset. Indian
Mm-hmm.
consumer is very simple and wants things to the point. Something you've listed, the images are clear, it says 599. Now as an Indian consumer, I'm thinking, how do I get it for 499? Where is that discount code? That is my mindset in India. We were selling you a package which was a surprise box. It was a mystery, and asking you to pay up and then tell you that we're going to deliver this package in 10 days, and then it's going to be a surprise. So that whole model was not scalable. It worked up till 1,000 subscribers. I remember there was a month where we hit about 1,100 subscribers. That was our ceiling. Going beyond that was getting complicated. Not only was it taking more spends and becoming unprofitable, it was also becoming a big challenge to answer questions of people saying, I want to know what is in this box. What if I don't like one product? What if I want to exchange two things out of it? So it would become such an operational challenge that we started getting feedback and insights that we understood now that this cannot be scaled as a category. But yes, we can always develop other products around it and start let this be an acquisition channel and start building other products which help the brand propel further. So yeah, that's why we hit a ceiling and we decided to kill the model eventually, but that's another story.
Oh, got it. Understood.
Yeah.
So you started with 15 lakhs of
Yeah.
personal savings. For
Yeah.
someone watching this who also wants to start a kidwear brand today, how far does 15 lakhs takes actually gets you? And what are the costs that new founders usually underestimate?
So I'll give you an honest answer. I know there's a lot of bullshit on the internet where people will tell you that you can start without capital, you can even start with
Yeah.
1 lakh. You cannot. Uh,
Mm.
you can obviously start anything with even 50,000, but you just don't want to start. You're not proving to start something. You want to grow it, you want to build a brand, you want to scale it up. So don't, my advice to any young founders today is that do not enter this business if you do not have capital, because this is a capital intensive
Mm.
business, especially D2C, where you're expected to spend money on ads, you're expected to spend money on content, and you're expected to realize that things culminate only after a few months, maybe sometimes even years, depending on category to category. So if you do not have money, if you do not have a 2 year runway, do not enter this business. Now that 2 year runway could be different for different people, it could be different for different categories. It totally depends. Somebody who wants to build a 100 crore brand in 5 years will have a completely different runway. Somebody who has a savings of 20, 30 lakhs will have to have a runway of that sort, will have to employ people of that stature, will have to build slowly so that they don't lose out on their runway as they build ahead. So, in short, you cannot build without capital. You cannot build with less capital either. You need to have some structure. In those days, maybe 15 lakhs was a little more. Now, maybe 15 lakhs is not enough. So, if you're building a clothing brand or if you're building a beauty brand, things can change, right? Like a beauty brand can start with even lesser because you can have two SKUs and you can start scaling. In a fashion business, maybe you need to have 20 SKUs and then you need to have new launches every 2 months, every 3 months. So things can be different for different categories, but the core principle is that without capital, do not jump into this pond.
Um, So Your whole brand is all about less is more, fewer SKUs, cleaner designs, no Diwali sales, no, racing to the bottom on price.
Yes. Yeah.
In a market where most brands compete on variety and deals, why did you go the opposite direction? And honestly, does that work in India for Indian customers specifically?
So I'm not going to give you an answer that, "Oh, I always thought this and I've always wanted my brand to be like this." I only went in this direction now because I have exhausted all the other directions. We've done sales, we've done flash
Yeah.
sales, we have done all sorts of festive offers. Whether it's a Black Friday, it did not concern us. We jumped in. We sometimes even do now. But we realized there were two realizations. One, when you become a discounted brand, then you're totally sales dependent. Whenever you put a sale, only then you're able to scale up. Otherwise, you're not able to scale up. So that was the one learning that we realized, that you cannot build a brand with the fact that, okay, we slash prices every now and then. So that was a little hard pill to swallow. It took some time, but now we do not do sales. We do like two or maybe three sales a year, which are literally genuine sales, like an end of winter sale or an end of summer sale, and maybe, yes, a Diwali period sale, which will, of course, it's a shopping time for everybody, and as a founder you do not want to miss out on that. And you do get customers telling you that everybody's on sale, why are you not discounting? This is the time to, this is the time for customers also to try your product. So it's a win-win situation. But we do not do any double the MRP, half the discount, 50 plus 60% off. We don't do all those buy one get one gimmicks, because I feel over time, if you've defined your brand around a certain audience, that audience is your customer is always smarter than you. They can always see through what you're building and why it's priced that way. Now, if I suddenly price my product 1,000 more and make it a buy one get one, it may get me short term sales, but I will lose out on that particular audience. That is my audience. That is a long term audience for me, that is willing to pay that extra 100, 200 rupees, because they value the brand, they value the product quality, and they value the community that we are building behind it. So we don't want to lose out on that for a short term gain.
Yeah, right, right. So every product is designed by your in-house team, but you
Yeah.
manufacture across like 10 to 15 third-party factories. So
Yeah.
how do you make sure what comes out of the factory actually matches what your team designs?
So we have two checkpoints. Firstly, everything that we get manufactured,
Mhm.
the fabric is provided by us. So that solves 70 to 80% of the problem of a fabric
Mhm.
going wrong, or a product quality going down. Now the second part is we have dedicated vendors, whether it is printing, whether it is trims, buttons, labels, tags, anything you can think of. We have dedicated defined vendors for manufacturers to choose from. So that way, whether I'm building something in Indore or Ludhiana or Pune or Noida, the vendors remain same. And this is a manufacturer's problem. If they want to work with us, they have to work under the defined system. So 90% of the problem gets solved here. Now the major problem where we do face challenges, and any fashion brand, whether it's as big as a Zara or an H&M, or as small as us, is the quality check. Now here is where we try to deploy our workforce. We have a team of quality checkers who visit factories, who try to visit factories during production processes, as well as packaging processes. And then, of course, when we receive goods, we have another checkpoint where we recheck these products. So we have built this system from the very day one of having these checkpoints, because when you're outsourcing manufacturing, this is the number one question anybody asks, and is the number one problem you will actually face. So coming from a family background of this business, these are the things that naturally came to me, rather than finding it out the hard way. So this is why our return percentage is literally under 2%. Even our exchanges are under 3%, and we hardly get any manufacturing complaints. But even if we do, because at scale you do, we then identify this with the manufacturer and try to solve it, so that we do not make the mistake again and again. But we have a set of manufacturers that we've been working with now for over 4 5 years, who've also grown with us, who've also gone from 50 machines to 250 machines with us. So they also realize the value we bring to them, and we also realize the value they bring to us.
Great. That's great.
Yeah. So it's an
So,
ecosystem we are building. We're not just going to
yeah,
an exhibition and picking a card and telling them that why don't you make this for us. We're also trying to build the right way, the slow way, and that is why lesser categories, less is more. That is the funda.
right, right. So you have your own website, a
Yep.
physical studio, and same day delivery as well, right?
Yep.
So you have navigated quick commerce too. So for someone just starting a kidswear brand or any baby care brand, where should their first rupee of distribution should go, and what's the sequence that actually makes sense? Tele website or quick commerce? What should they do?
So, great question. In fact, I just made a reel on this just yesterday.
Yeah.
For me, it's a very simple answer. You have to go on your website first. When you are starting out, you have no idea where you're going to go, what the product is going to be like, what the feedback is going to be like. Uh, so, your objective right now is to find product market fit, and that you can only find on your own website. Now, why I say only on your own website? Because you can play around, you can test different products in small MOQs. You can test different prices, different offers, different style of landing pages, different communication. For example, you may want to sell a quad set. You may want to call it a travel set. You may want to call it, a sportswear set. Depends. I'm just giving you an example, right? So these all communication can really define your brand going forward in the long run. So if you want to test all these things, you want to test different price points, you may want to sell it at 200 more MRP. You test that for over the weekend. And I'm going to test it for the next 6 days. You can start ads on a small budget and get traffic on your website. Right now, our objective is only to find product market fit. Once you have that product market fit, now you go into marketplaces. Marketplaces itself is a huge business. It's a separate business from your website, separate system, separate marketing, separate reconciliation, separate strategy altogether, right? Then you build on that. Once you feel that you're now in a stage where you can explore quick commerce, then you go into quick commerce. It's a long journey. Quick commerce is a very hard battle. You need to be highly capital incentive because you need to have inventory in place, and for that inventory you need piles of capital, because this inventory gets blocked on quick commerce. Quick commerce doesn't mean you. It's not like marketplaces. Marketplaces, you can sort of list and hold the product. Today I can have the same product listed on my website and the marketplace with a common inventory. So that doesn't, I don't have to demarket inventory for Amazon or for Nika or for Mintra, right? Every morning it automatically adjusts whoever is getting order for what, right? In quick commerce, that doesn't happen
Right.
because you have to deliver the inventory. So every founder knows this, knows when is the right time to go to quick commerce. And there is always stage two or stage three where you're already cracking big numbers on marketplaces and your own website. And now you want to expand and flourish even further. So that's the last stage. But yes, the sequence is this.
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah.
So your Meta ad account got disabled for a week
Yeah.
and our sales did take a hit. So take me back to that week. What actually happened? How did you hold things together? And what did it permanently change for you?
So, this has happened to almost everyone I know of who's into the D2C
Okay.
space. Meta has this notorious habit of banning your account on and off,
Okay.
sometimes once in a year, sometimes once in 2 years. Nobody has control over it.
Okay.
And it could be something as stupid as you were trying to make a payment twice, or you entered a wrong OTP, things like that. Because,
Yeah.
see, Meta is not a person sitting there who's deciding to disable. These are all systems and checks and algorithms in place. If something in the algorithm or the system feels that, oh, I need to secure this layer, they'll just ban your account. And then to
Yeah.
undo that, you again have to go through multiple layers. You have to, there is no person you can talk to. You don't have a POC. You don't have an account manager. There's no matter even if spending over 2 crores a month, you don't get a manager. There's nothing like that because
Yeah.
there is no end to spending on Meta. There are brands of all sorts. So in that week, I realized that how dependent we are on Meta, how dependent all D2C brands are on Meta, and we still are. I mean, I will not lie that we've cracked something, but at least that was a realization that you cannot build backed on that fact that if Meta goes down, you go down. Yes, you may lose growth, you may lose 60%, 70% of your revenue, but you cannot be totally reliant on it. So, yes, that week taught me the fact that we need to come up with ideas that generate sales organically. And SEO is not the way, because SEO is a long term play. Of course, we do organic sales because of SEO, but you needed to have a way where you got up in the morning and you did something and that generated sales, and that was not ads. So then we started heavily relying on content. We built a content team. We started pushing out reels. We started pushing out founder content. That's where I started creating my own personal brand. We realized that, I remember it was my seventh or eighth reel, which sort of blew up. I won't say blow up now because there was just 500, 600 likes, but for an account that had 100 followers at that point, I suddenly got a reel that went sort of 50,000 views, 60,000 views. And it was just about a customer who, some interaction with the customer I had. And, uh, and on that day, our sales were 4x of a general day.
Oh,
So
great.
that was the first validation I got that yes, there are people out there who are looking for your product, and maybe you yourself as a founder can become a route or a
Mm.
catalyst for people to find discover your brand, right? So instead of just relying on Meta as discovery, we started building the personal brand, like I said, and of course content became another lever. Then retention channels like WhatsApp, email marketing. We started doubling down on all these things that we were doing earlier, but we were not doing heavily, or we were sort of ignoring. And now we have a decent split of 70-30, where 30% of our sales are coming organically. And we want to push this number to 50. But yes, it seems like a very tough challenge. And especially when you're growing, you need to rely on Meta.
All right. Understood. So parents aren't just buying a product. They are deciding if they trust you with their child. So how
Yeah.
did Mama and Peaches earn that trust with the very first wave of customers, and what does that look like today?
So, there was no strategy behind building this trust. The only core principle we had was that we want to put out something that we can put on our daughter initially, whether it was a subscription box, choice of brands, choice of curation, or today, whether it's choice of fabric, choice of design. Our core North Star is that if it goes on our child, then it's okay to go on anybody's child. Now, we don't cut corners
Right.
there. And I think we trust is built over time. So we have a repeat customer rate of now touching 40%. That shows that people trust us, or customers trust us. Now that hasn't happened because we suddenly started creating founder content, or we suddenly did something. It's a very long journey, and it has happened over time. We have customers. In fact, yesterday somebody DM'd me that I've found your like she DM'd me on my personal brand that I just started following you, and I want to let you know that 5 years back when I had a baby, I had bought a product from you, and today I purchased again. I don't know, I forgot about you. I was somewhere, whatever. But that is a validation that I felt that because 5 years back she had a good experience, she did not blink twice to consider us to buy again today. And so many people must be going through similar things. And this world of parents is a very small community, although it's a very large community. But within that community, there are these small groups who talk to each other. Every mom has these three moms who's talking to her and asking her whether it's about a travel recommendation or a doctor recommendation or a product recommendation, right? So that word of mouth is what builds trust over time. And if you have a great product, you're giving a good service. We always try to provide excellent customer service. Yes, we do make mistakes sometimes, but at the core, I think trust is built from the principles the founder has. Company is built based on what the founder thinks. Now, if I start telling my team that refund nahi dena hai, don't give refund, cancel it, just you know make the customer go in circles, then I will build that kind of a company. My team is only going to be a reflection of what I want. Now, if I tell my customers, tell my team that there is no question of you refusing a refund. In fact, there are some cases where people reach out to us and they say, today is the eighth day, you have a 7-day limitation on return and exchange. So I tell them that it's okay. Make that exception. Figure out if the customer is genuine. Ask for images. Do your recce. But it's okay. You want to give that experience that there are humans behind this brand. It's not a large corporation, and there are people like us. So I think creating that relevance through customer experience, creating that trust through product experience, and then of course creating that similar effect through your content, where somebody watching me realizes that, oh, he is also a parent, ठीक ही बनाएंगे, ठीक ही कर रहे होंगे, right? So humanizing the brand is a very big factor in creating that trust.
That's really nice. So you created studio Saturdays, no pitching, no promotion, just parents showing up. You have
Yeah.
WhatsApp circles with the same rules. That's really rare for a brand to do. How many people show up and does community building actually translates to revenue?
So how many people show up is something that is a limitation at our end, because our studio or our space or our team bandwidth is less. Every Saturday we have heaps of people who want to come in. Uh, Nothing wrong with it, but mothers, especially young mothers, by young mothers I mean who have young ones, who have slightly smaller, younger 6-month, 8-month babies, are very
Yeah.
fond of getting their um, babies clicked or getting featured on, let's say, our page, or being associated with the brand. So there are tons and
Right.
tons of customers who reach out to us that we want to shoot with you. Now they reach out to me as well, and it's very difficult to tell them no, because I don't tell them no, but I tell them that we're planning. So we have the quantity is not the problem. It's just that we don't have the bandwidth. So every Saturday, we try to genuinely call customers who find it easy to come. We are in Hoskas, so sometimes people from Noida find it easy, but somebody who's coming from Panipat or maybe Sona Road, we do not commit to that kind of a effort taken by them, because uh, when you come here, it's literally a very raw experience. There is no photographer, there are no studio lights, there is just us with literally an iPhone and literally having a conversation with you. I use this opportunity to get feedback from that customer in real time. They're wearing the product. They're telling me, oh, this is good. The size is a little off. Or if you would have made this, that would be so nice. Why don't you try this in half sleeves? So there are the small insights that can literally be worth crores as when you look back. So in terms of your question, whether it culminates into revenue, yes, big time. Because again, like I said, this community building exercise is again very word of mouth. This mom goes back, she puts it on her Instagram, she tells 500 people across in her friends and family. They come to know about your brand, and somehow someone else wants to join the community, wants to come in, and this is a trickling effect. So there is a lot of shadow buyers or shadow customers being created, that I can't put a pen and paper and say, yeah, because Khushbu came in on Saturday and her friend has bought. But definitely you putting content out there, you getting associated with a brand, has led to some eyeballs, which has led to some way or the other, either following our brand or converting into a customer. So yes, community building is the way to go, and not all community buildings exercises happen only offline. They can always happen offline and then be amplified via content. So if you are a mother sitting in some remote town in India and looking at the brand's content, where customers are coming in, people are talking to the founder, shows reality, right? It's again going back to the whole humanization of the brand, and that all builds trust, builds ultimately builds revenue. So that is how community building works. It's not it's not how calling 100 people for an event and pushing them to forcibly come. I think people, when they come out of their will, out of their heart, that is real community.
Wow. Kudos to you for starting this. This is really new.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Sorry.
for someone,
Yeah.
not an issue. So this is my last question for someone watching this who wants to start a kids wear brand today in India. What's the one thing that looks easier from the outside than it actually is, and the thing you wish someone had told you before you started?
So, like I said, the trigger for us was when we became parents. If you were to pick up 20 kidswear brands in India, all of them will be parents. If not all, at least
Mm.
19 of them will be parents who had a baby and thought, I can do better. I can do better than, let's say, Mama and Peaches. I can do better than Mother Care. What are they selling? They're not selling this. very easy to enter into a clothing business because there's no entry to barrier. Everybody has a masi,
Yeah.
chachi, or a uncle who's running a clothing factory. You can get some know-how. You can even start it as a boutique from your own house by putting 3 4 machines. It's like how every household in India is a boutique for suits and ladies salwars and all that. It's similar like that. So you can start a brand. So I think the one mistake that your question actually is a very good question, where people think is easy and is actually not easy, is they think that the product is easy, and that is why they want to do it, right? Like, because that is their whole inspiration कि मैं ऐसा product बनाऊंगा या बनाऊंगी that this market is not seen. So they come into this market thinking that I'm going to build this product, it's going to be so beautiful, it's going to be so awesome, and then they price it in a way that they think people buy, and then suddenly after first round of launch, your couple of friends have bought it, a few people have converted from the ads, and you realize there's this lull moment where suddenly nobody's buying, you know. And now you start looking at other brands, why are they buying their product? And then you start asking questions, why are they selling it so cheap, how are they selling it so cheap? So this is the learning, it took me a while, and that is what the learning I want to share here for your viewers or anybody who wants to build a kidswear brand. You cannot build a kidswear brand uh, at a non-competitive price. Price is the first factor in India, especially into kids wear. This doesn't apply to other fashion brands because you can spend 5,000 on a dress. My friend can spend even 15,000, and there are people who spend even more, right? And then you can go to a Mintra and spend even 1,000.
Yeah.
So there is a varied of audience there. But in kids wear, there is this common consensus that बच्चा 6 महीने बाद तो पहनेगा, right? So suddenly
Yeah.
you are value oriented no matter what household you come from. So you are looking for the
Yeah.
sweet spot where you get good quality at a good price. That good price is something you have to crack as a kids wear brand. It took me a while to realize this. I am consulting a few startups these days. Some of them are kidswear brand, and I tell them this, and then they say, "Oh, how will I do it? It's so expensive." It takes time for customer for founders to realize that it's not that people are not valuing your quality. People have that mindset that the product does not have longevity. Your product is not going to be used next winter. Nobody is going to buy a winter romper or let's say a sweater and say, I'm going to use it for 3 years, because you are dealing with a category that is changing sizes every 3 months, every 6 months. So everybody is looking for literally a buy and throw away sort of a category like a bata. So, and then of course, there are this audience that wants good quality. So you have to find that balance. And it took us a while. When we first launched, we launched really expensive products, and I said, why are people not buying? Like I would have bought, but who am I lying to? Even I buy products now for my daughter. We know that, okay, she's going to spill something or something off is going to happen or she's going to be crawling and it's going to tear. So why invest in something? Might as well go for a bundle deal or buy a pack of three. Of course, quality is important, but price I feel is a more important factor. So anybody who's building into kidswear, please crack your price first, do your market research, and then build backwards.
Wow, that's a great advice.
Yeah.
So, Varun, we are almost done with the interview. I'll just take the outro, and I would request you to stay for 5 minutes so that we
Okay.
make sure we have all the recordings. Yep.
Okay. Sure. Sure.
All
Can I
right.
step
I'm
away for a
taking the
second?
outro now. Sure, but
Here only. Here
either I
only.
can just take the outro.
No, no,
Okay,
you
okay,
take.
sure.
I'm here
So,
only. I'm leaving the screen on and your mic
all
on.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
Cool,
just on the other
cool,
side.
cool, cool.
Just make a call.
Sure, sure, sure. Anup, should I take the outro? Should I take the outro right now, or we should wait for him?
हाँ लगा दे.
Oh, yeah.
Go on. What do you mean by an outro? Like you want me to say something?
So I will be just thanking you for,
Okay. Super.
yeah, I will just be thanking you for your presence. Yeah. So let me
Okay.
just take the outro.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you, Anu, for being so transparent with us. I learned a lot, and I'm sure people watching this feel the same way. And I wish you and Mama and Peaches continued and well deserved success. Once again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, and I had a lovely conversation. Your questions were on point, and I hope anybody watching this finds it helpful.
You're welcome.
Super. Should I? Yeah, yeah. Take it.